Christmas Day tragedy as bushfires engulf homes in Sydney's west. A Christmas Day treat for kids too sick to leave hospital, and a day in court for America's would-be terrorist. Good evening. Also tonight, the Queen's message of hope to the far-flung Commonwealth. A tragic Christmas Day for hundreds of families as bushfires destroy homes throughout Sydney's west. Searing temperatures and strong winds hampered efforts to contain several blazes, with no immediate let-up in the weather likely.
Firefighters fought at least 70 blazes across the state, but despite the best of efforts, were unable to save many homes. Simmering in the morning, the hot winds blew up at lunchtime, fanning spot fires burning in Sydney's west. Quickly, the situation flamed out of control as firefighters and local residents battled to save homes under threat. And on Christmas Day, can you just simply believe it?
No, I can't actually. It's not good. My kids are worrying and I think I need to get out of here.
Firefighters took up their positions on the front lines. Some residents took to their roofs. The fire raced along bushland next to houses and flared up between some homes. Occupants left shaken.
This is it. This is our Christmas dinner out here. It's been frightening. Very frightening.
It's been pretty unsettling. None of us expected this. Not at all. Not at all.
Firefighters, though, had feared the worst.
With the weather conditions the way they've been over the last few days, it had to happen.
And we had to protect the houses first. We couldn't stop the fire. It's just impossible.
The conditions out here are simply appalling. The wind is extremely strong and sometimes the smoke is so dense that you can only see a short distance ahead. Motorists were stranded with the Great Western Highway at Penrith closed in both directions. By early afternoon, the blanket of smoke covering the west had spread over the Sydney city skyline in a thick haze. A frightening scene too at Warragamba Dam, where bushfires are also out of control. Two towns are under threat.
We're facing probably the gravest bushfire situation the state has seen in some considerable number of years.
They are extremely serious, and this is just the first day of what is likely to be a number of days of severe fire conditions.
The south coast was also hit as dry bushland in the Shoalhaven area fuelled the flames. Several homes were lost.
Gotta go, fellas.
At Nowra, firefighters pulled out at the last minute, unable to save a service station. And more traffic chaos for drivers, the F6 to Wollongong now closed. Urgent evacuations also at Queanbeyan near Canberra as a bushfire raged dangerously close to a fuel depot. Nina Stevens, National 9 News.
And we cross now to reporter Anna Corrin, who's above the fires in Sydney's west. Anna, what are you looking at the moment?
Well, Sharyn, from the chopper, I can see dozens of fires raging on the outskirts of Sydney. This fire we're currently looking at in Sydney's west has broken out from a blaze at Glenfield. It's being fanned by winds, westerly winds, gusting up to 50 kilometres an hour, and in the past hour it's travelled at least 6 kilometres. It's now reached Kemps Creek near Horsley Park and is heading towards Prospect. It appears to have burnt down several homes and sheds, and fire crews from the air and ground are desperately trying to contain it.
And Anna, what's the forecast? Is there any likelihood of conditions easing?
No, Sharyn, conditions are not expected to ease. These strong westerly winds will continue overnight and will again pick up tomorrow. Today's temperatures, which reached 40 degrees out here, are only expected to drop slightly tomorrow, but we can expect these fires to continue raging for the next couple of days.
All right, Anna, thank you very much for that. We'll cross back to Anna throughout the bulletin for an update on the situation. And out of the traditional Christmas celebration, churches everywhere have been packed with worshippers. It seems this year, more than ever, people are remembering the true reason for today's celebration.
After a year of international unrest and violence, today was a time to mark unity and peace, and the churches were filled with parishioners heeding the call.
This immense throng, all of us here to celebrate the birth of Christ, the Son of Mary, the Son of God, our Redeemer and Saviour.
Early worshippers gathered for midnight mass, and throughout Christmas Day there was barely a seat left as families and friends joined for prayer, blessings and song.
I bring you my Christian greetings
The Lord be with you.
For many, the thoughts of September the 11th and its consequences were never far from their minds, making today even more poignant.
We pray for protection for our Defence Force personnel serving in East Timor and Afghanistan.
We're from Ireland, but we actually live in New York, and we're over here on vacation, so it's just nowadays nice to be away from New York, but we're thinking about everyone over there.
You know, you want to spend Christmas this year just being grateful for what you have, and like life seems short now.
An understanding echoed by the Anglican Archbishop during his Christmas message.
How can we speak of peace on earth at a time like this?
But, as strong as ever, the message of hope for the future.
My prayer and wish this Christmas is that peace of heart permeates ever more widely in our community.
Jason Neuenhoff, National 9 News.
The day started peacefully enough with the traditional unwrapping of presents. Kids in homes across the state eager to find out what Santa had left them.
There were certainly no sleep-ins this morning. At the crack of dawn, households were woken as children discovered Santa had come. But not all kids were as lucky to spend Christmas at home.
Merry Christmas!
For those sick at Randwick Children's Hospital, Santa's elves, the Wiggles and Dorothy the dinosaur helped spread the festive cheer.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
And for most of these kids, it made their day.
Wake up, Sam! Thanks for waking me up and shooting me with alien rings.
In the city's inner west, thousands of Sydney's poor, homeless and lonely came together to share a meal.
Feel much better. I come here this morning being at home.
16 years ago, Reverend Bill Cruz started up a Christmas lunch with just 60 sandwiches. Today, it's an enormous feast that puts smiles on so many faces.
A lot of the people here are really broken, and to be able to put it on so that they can actually have a good time, it is more than, you know, it's just more than you can hope for.
But none of this would have been possible without the 250 plus volunteers who've given up their Christmas day to bring happiness to those less fortunate.
It's rewarding, and it's just, you know, that sense of community, which is what really Christmas is about, I think.
Serving up ham and turkey as well as plum pudding, Santa's helpers work tirelessly in the kitchen to feed at least 3,000 people.
The love and the gratitude in their face when you bring them this meal, it's worth everything, it really is.
And as the temperature soared, so did the British invasion of Bondi Beach. Enjoying 36-degree heat, they lapped up the rays and toasted the year with a cool beer.
Merry Christmas!
Anna Corrin, National 9 News.
The so-called shoe bomber has appeared in a US court, still refusing to reveal any information about his true identity, motive or link to terrorist organisations. However, tests have proven that he had enough explosive in the sole of his sneakers to blow the American Airlines jet out of the sky.
While the majority of America's courts were closed, this one in Boston was open and under heavy security. The failed terrorist arrived in a convoy of FBI vehicles. Inside, his hair loose and wild, wearing a jailhouse uniform, the man known as Richard Reed was read the charges relating to his assault on the cabin crew of American Airlines Flight 63. Still, no charges relating to attempted terrorism. The 28-year-old only shrugged and gave one-word answers when asked if he understood the charges against him. He has, however, requested a taxpayer-funded lawyer.
Preliminary results from the FBI lab have concluded that there were functional, improvised explosive devices in both of Reed's sneakers.
Not surprisingly, the court agreed with the U.S. Attorney's Office that Reed poses a threat to America's citizens, and therefore the question of his release from custody was very quickly dismissed. He's back in court again in 3 days' time. There is still no evidence to suggest whether or not he's connected to Al-Qaeda. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, the US has dropped a few Christmas presents of its own on caves thought to be concealing Al-Qaeda fighters. And at Kandahar, a handful of bin Laden loyalists seized control of the hospital. They were eventually overpowered by Allied special forces. But it's not all war. These enterprising Kabul businessmen have fashioned some Christmas trees with decorations. They've been snapped up by the Allied soldiers who've also received tons of Christmas mail from home.
It feels nice just getting mail at any time, but around here, you know, you think about everybody back home and what's happened, and it just like really hits home.
But for one US soldier, there was a very special phone call. It was from his Commander-in-Chief, otherwise known as President George W. Bush, a random call thanking him and all his fellow soldiers for sacrificing time away from family to hunt for the elusive Osama bin Laden. In the United States, Michael Usher, National 9 News.
The Queen has focused on the importance of communities and friendships in her Christmas message this year. She made a point of including all people in her address, regardless of their race or religion.
We all have something to learn from one another, whatever our faith, be it Christian or Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu or Sikh. Whatever our background, whether we be young or old, from town or countryside. This is an important lesson for us all during this festive season. For Christmas marks a moment to pause, to reflect and believe in the possibilities of rebirth and renewal. Christ's birth in Bethlehem so long ago remains a powerful symbol of hope for a better future. After all the tribulations of this year, this is surely more relevant than ever.
In the news ahead, the Pope's Christmas message of peace in these troubled times. Residents of Launceston in northern Tasmania are cleaning up after enduring a wild Christmas Eve. A mini tornado has torn through homes, causing extensive damage.
The storm broke just after 10 p.m, lashing the suburb of Summerhill on Launceston's outskirts. Winds exceeding 100 kilometres an hour tore through the neighbourhood, ripping apart brick walls, tearing down fences and smashing windows. Some residents were forced to brave the fierce conditions to repair damage before more could be done, while others scrambled to save those unlucky enough to be trapped outside when the twister struck.
Going inside.
Swamped emergency services worked through the night to restore power supplies cut by fallen trees. Daylight brought confirmation more than 120 homes had been damaged. At least 8 of those lost their entire roofs.
The power flickered on and off. And then I thought the tree had actually blown onto the house, and I looked up through the skylight and I realised the roof had gone. And then I saw the man next door outside, and his roof was in our backyard.
I've just finished doing this place, so it's pretty upsetting, you know.
Fire crews were called in to help install tarpaulins and clear debris from backyards and streets.
The wind just came through like a train, and we just made sure the kids were fine, and the rest we can replace.
I've been living here 18 years and never seen anything like this at all my whole life since we've been here. A freakish act of nature.
Susie Rains, National 9 News.
Pope John Paul II has led a Christmas Eve Mass at St Peter's in Vatican City. The 81-year-old appeared to be in good health, addressing hundreds amid tight security.
Abbiamo incontrato la luce.
The pontiff did not mention the September 11 attacks, but talked about the hardships caused by the continuation of war. He also spoke about the challenge of faith, urging Christians to draw strength from God. Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat has been confined to his headquarters by Israeli troops, unable to attend midnight mass in Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus Christ. It's the first time he's been banned from the site since the town came under Palestinian control 7 years ago. Israel has ignored pleas from the Vatican to lift the ban, demanding Arafat arrest those responsible for killing an Israeli cabinet minister in October. At least 34 people are dead following heavy rains in Brazil. Mudslides buried entire towns on the outskirts of the capital Rio de Janeiro, while flooding has left hundreds more homeless. Roads and bridges have also been destroyed, and the deluge is expected to continue, with rain forecast for at least the next 24 hours. And back to our top story again, firefighters are continuing to battle blazes across the west of Sydney. We cross now to Anna Corrin for an update. Anna?
Well, Sharyn, we've moved further west to the lower Blue Mountains. We're currently looking at pictures from the Warragamba, Silverdale and Wallacia area. These are the worst affected areas in the Sydney Basin, and these townships, home to about 5,000 people, have been cut off. A short time ago, a shopping centre and preschool in the Warragamba Dam area have set alight. So fire crews are desperately trying to contain the blazes, which have already destroyed a number of homes.
All right, Anna, thanks for that. Still to come, a preview of tomorrow's boxing details. We again cross to reporter Anna Corrin to update the bushfire situation. And Anna, what's happening at the moment?
Well, Sharyn, we're south of Penrith at the moment, and these strong westerly winds are causing major problems for Sydney's west. More than a dozen homes have been destroyed, with Warragamba and Wallacia so far the worst affected areas. Some of these fire fronts stretch for more than 10 kilometres, so it's going to be an extremely busy night for firefighters.
All right, Anna, thank you very much for that. Now to the weather, and gusty westerly winds today in Sydney, blowing in the smoke from the bushfires. At the moment it's 31 degrees. That's after a top of 36 in the city, 37 at Liverpool. Warm and dry tomorrow with more gusty westerly winds. Temperatures in the high 20s with a total fire ban in place. Around the country tomorrow, hot and humid in Brisbane. Showers in Melbourne and Adelaide, fine in Perth. And looking ahead for Sydney, dry with gusty westerlies for Boxing Day, fine with winds easing on Thursday. Finally, if decorating your Christmas tree this year was a marathon effort, spare a thought for the Dunn family on the Central Coast. It took them 230 hours or 9 days and nights of non-stop work to turn their house into this shrine to Christmas. On top of that, it takes 2 hours of maintenance every day to keep it in perfect working order. 17,600 bulbs make up this shining light of the neighbourhood. And just like the Star of Bethlehem, it's been drawing crowds from far and wide. It's also drawn the attention of judges who named it the New South Wales winner of the Woolworths Light Up Christmas competition. And that's the news this Christmas Day. We'll have updates on the fire situation throughout the night. Have a safe and happy festive season. From all of us here at National 9 News, good night.